Okay. Good evening. Good evening. What a beautiful Wednesday evening right here. I am Alfonso and Sort of the Liberia Public Radio and Lpr-Tv. The panelists, they are here. They will be here and they are coming. The conversations in Liberia is on the rise. We want to welcome our viewers and listeners across the globe, wherever you are, in the USA, in Liberia, on planet Earth. We say thank you for your commitment to this network. That's another way of sharing support. We want to welcome Jida Kane. The man Arthur Solo is in the house. And not forgetting my own sister, Femeta Gay, from the Garden City of New Jersey. We say good evening. Thank you. And of course, our own Samuel Chia from the liberal state of Massachusetts, right here, next door to me. Thank you so much. Dr. Toto and all of our great friends, we say good evening. Solo, man, you need to join us here. I don't know why I think I got to put an SOS call on you. But we want to thank you so much for being here. This is your regular editions of All Things Considered right here on the Liberia Public Radio 10 Lpr-Tv, keeping the news proportional, fair, balanced, and objective for the good of our country and to discuss those critical issues that are affecting the country. We want to thank you so much for your time. I am Alfonso Zianso, your host, anchored and presented on this network in collaboration with great sons and daughters, the panelists, contributors. The difference is they get a political side, and my hands all washed out. So they and myself, sometimes things get a little bit dicey, rough here and there, but notwithstanding, we maintain civility at all times on this network. And that's what we want the political discourse in Liberia, not just only the politicians, but even their supporters, to be persuasive, look at the issues and try to be objective for God's sake, for the good of the country. Is that happening, you think? Probably, but I'm seeing it from different perspective, different angle. But they are here, and we're going to be discussing a wide range of issues here. We begin to profile the candidates and what they are doing. But as you know, all things considered, empower you, give you the authority to also bring in your own talking points, something that capture your imagination, something that you think worth discussing. We also give you the opportunity to do that. And of course, that there's no status of limitation. Of course, the analysts, they can do it. So today, in as much you put a great light on it, they can say, you know what, whatever you bring in, this is what I want to talk about my candidates. This is what I want to say about the party that I support. And that's why we'll be having a conversation here this evening. I want to thank you so much for your time. One of the panelists, she's here, always on time. Strong advocate. She made some good predictions about even the rally, and apparently, whatever she forecast most likely came to pass. That they have to be very careful. Politicians have to listen. And this is why we on this network, we want to take this authority of them being so authoritative and think they are the only boss. Start is stop. It begins with them, it stops with them. No. We, the voters, the Liberian people, must take charge. They must be able to tell them and send them a strong message. You in the USA, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The voters, the electors, they are the decider. They are the game changer. When you do it crazy in the first two terms, they don't want to know too much of hala and hulu bala and unnecessary drama. They say, you know what? In the next 2 years, you will pay the price. And guess what? They go to the polls. And they say, we'll send you for 2 years in Congress, in the Senate. You didn't even come back. You didn't do what you promised to do. Not necessarily buying baby tops, buying people's zing. No. But you told us. The highway leading from one city to another city to the you who have lobbied to make a bridge, renovate, or even to erect a new bridge. You told us this city XYZ is taking place, and that could have been their agenda. And that's why they work bipartisanship. The Republicans and the Democrats, they are some moderate, they understand, and they do it. But how many of our guys? So when you look at the whole political landscape in Liberia, it's just another chaotic situation. Why it is true the executive branch of government run by the first branch of government, they must be held accountable. So this next year will not be only electing president, but we're going to be electing 73 men and women potentially that are going to be contesting. They should hold the executive branch accountable. The proxy at our affairs, we're going to give them that authority of Anthony. The lawyer here going to tell, or maybe what it really means to have that authority. You let them, you're not going to go in chambers when they are voting you. No. Whether you vote for them, you don't vote for them, they will decide for you. It's 8:10. Let the conversation get underway. I'm Alfonso Zianso of the Liberia Public Radio. Stay tuned. I will be right back. Let's get a ball rolling. Let's rank in our senior contributor and analyst of the Liberia Public Radio. She based in the Garden City, New Jersey area, or actually from the Commonwealth of Virginia. I'm not sure why I like the Garden City. Usually we get pepper from there, so I used to it. But she actually based around the capital of Washington, D.C., within the Commonwealth Belt. Dr. Kimanwet Tonkara is the supporter of Madam Mandela Cooper, one of the major political actors in Liberia. What? Dr. Toronkart is here this evening. Let me bring her in while a group of people are here. Okay, there you see her. Doc, good evening. Welcome.
Thank you. I think, I grew up in New Jersey. I grew up in Trenton. So I think my phone number is 609. So that's why you love Jersey.
Yeah, I think so. Are you paying taxes both to New Jersey and to VA?
No, I still take their phone number, but I don't pay taxes.
Because I ready to report that to the state. Okay, let's start on the phone. How is everything so far?
Things have been going good. I spoke to Madam Cooper today. She's in high spirits. She is ready for this game. She's focusing on ground roots. So we are all getting excited. I think we ending the year. I think once we get into the new year, we're in game season. Like FIFA just over the football match, the soccer match is just over. I think we're about to see some really great matches on the political site. So absolutely, we're good. We're getting ready for Christmas. Family's well, so it's good to be here today.
Thank you so much. And how was the birthday lady? How was the surprise birthday lady?
It was the surprise anniversary.
Okay.
Excellent. She was so surprised. They all were surprised. My dad, everybody was surprised.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was the thing. My office had every year, my law office, because I have my own law firm. I have one in Maryland, one in Virginia, and I just opened another branch in Texas and Dallas. And every year we have Christmas party for the staff. Mm-hmm. And it was just one of those funny things where when I walked in and they all had these glasses, I thought they were just, drinking sodas and stuff. And they were there drinking alcohol.
They were drinking drink. The red cup.
They were catching that thing in the middle of the afternoon. I have to just send everybody home right now.
Wait a minute, Dad. Christmas, hey, Jonathan, good evening, welcome. Why would you be thinking grown-up men and women drinking, they're going to be drinking soda for more diabetic and all of that? Are you serious?
I don't know.
Okay. But we will have a conversation off camera on things that we do if it is not against the law. We need to get it out there. I think people, we have people, librarian people, to tap into people expertise. But we will talk off camera and see what can be and what can be. And we want to make sure follow laws on the book too, because we have followers. So who knows? Some of the services it can be tapped into, but we're going to have that discussion off camera and see what can be talked about or what can, so that way we on track. If that's something to you.
Absolutely. I mean, we do immigration. One of the things that I started doing Liberia to make sure, especially when people are filing, and I'm not trying to promote myself, but
why can't we do it?
No, one of the things I'm very much interested in, especially for Liberians in the diversity visas and people who are filing, there are so many other visas besides seeking the B1, B2, which is the tourist visitors visa. And so a lot of other visas that we're qualified for. So one of the things that I was speaking to Magdala Cooper about is establishing a training base where, we're able to bring people who want to come to the United States, or for a visit or for whatever other reasons, so that they understand the process, how it works, and then training them so people are not scamming them. The State Department was very high in the level of scam where people are, especially in the Ghana, the West African countries, they were taking money from people who are so desperate and saying it will help them fill out this paperwork. So when I went to Liberia, one of the things that I started discussing with some of the people around the consulate was to implement programs and start training and start helping people to properly fill out some of these applications to come on other types of visas instead of just B1, B2. So anyway, like you said, that's another discussion. I'm an immigration expert.
You know what? We gotta, and that's what we gotta make people to make wise of that. But like I said, we want to talk, and we're gonna do everything possible to elevate that, so that people can also invest in their own people and be able to get a good sense of direction. So I think it's necessary. Some of us doing different things, and so we will talk about that. And we're doing some promo for another group of people here at some point in time. So why not? You giving back to this network? I don't have money to pay you. 2 hours here. Where do I get that kind of money to pay a lawyer to sit for 2 hours or 1 hour, 30 minutes, and while I can reciprocate and get? Okay, Jonathan, good evening and welcome.
Hi, Jonathan. How are you?
Yes, how you doing, Dr. Toronka?
Oh, we've been having a good time. We've been having a great conversations. Everything about to go down the hill now, man.
Nothing going down the hill. We have it's a good conversation about Liberia always. We're not all agree on the same thing, but we get disagree to agree.
Your boy has come.
LPR press.
I will do it on purpose. I will see whether he doesn't believe in lady before gentlemen. Yeah, he win me this time around. He's not talking that.
He's not talking.
It's not guaranteed though. It's not guaranteed that. Okay, the Liberal Progressive. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Soul. Good evening, Madam Birthday Lady.
No, that's not a birthday lady.
Birthday lady.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
can take gifts.
Okay, all right. Oh, Doc, good evening, Doc. Good. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Jonathan, good evening.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Good evening,
There we
Mr.
go. Okay.
We started a conversation yesterday. That you said you talked to your potential candidate today. How is she doing?
She's in high spirits. She's ready for 23. She's getting ready for 23. She's been doing a lot of underground, grassroots connection with people, but her spirit, I was mostly concerned for her spirit because I serve as a dual role for her. I'm also, I was ordained as a minister as well in 2019. So one of my biggest role with her is to build her up in prayer and build up her spirit. And I think, when other people are, they have other people who are surrounding them, praying for them. She needs someone also and people around her who will fortify her in prayers as she enters into this very, very, very concrete jungle that she's going to. So her spirits were good. I really like the fact that she's looking forward to the race, because this can be a bit overwhelming. So she said, I'm just ready to enter 23 and start kicking that ball down the hill.
Wow. Okay, as you guys note, Wednesday is All Things Considered. There are other things some of you will capture during the week, and that could just slip by me, not on purpose, but maybe I didn't see it as something. So I definitely everybody can speak from the belly button here this evening on some of the things. But we started a conversation yesterday. One thing, all of the opposition, they agree on that in one tone, one language is this president will be a one-term president. But saying that is insufficient. How will it happen? How can that happen? Who can make it happen? Can it be done singly with a single political party? That's the million-dollar question, because we are not seeing the kind of consolidations as an opposition, even though they agree on that as a card in the point that he should be one-term president. But in real world, in real time, not one single party for now, for what I know, I could be wrong, that can defeat this president. So yesterday we started with, was that Boyka? Yeah. So we're going to look at Councillor TIAWAN GONGLOE this evening, his path. And like I said, there's no nail on the hair with this yet. You can choose to also, all things considered, you can also choose your conversation. By the way, our West African brother country, the Federal Republic of Nigeria, will be having their election in February. As a matter of fact, from the INEC official website, 65 days to go. Their website is 65 days, 11 hours, 38 minutes, and 13 seconds. Can you imagine? I mean, it's just lay out details. 18 registered political parties. If you are ordinary Nigerians, you can track where you will vote. You just go tap your name, put your thing, and it tells you exactly this website. And I told folks at NEC they need to talk to these people and see what they can, yeah, that's constructive jealousy. It makes it easy. If you don't register, it tells you where to go register by just putting your name and setting information.
Wow.
But anyway, let's see what are they going to do. So, who wants to take the lead?
Well, I read somewhere where they were advocating for the presidential candidate GONGLOE, where it says what distinguished him from the other candidates is his audacity to promote strict adherence to the rule of law, fight for justice, tackle corruption by probing and retrieve every penny stolen by past and present government, appointing not less than 50% of cabinet ministers to women, instigate a lifestyle audit for all public officials, and redistribute national wealth in a manner that is beneficial to the majority of Liberians. Now, we're starting off with him because we're talking about different candidates. We're here to sort of dissect their path, although we all have our own, candidates that we support. So I read it kind of over and over again. I think the very strength, I believe, of all of the candidates, the opposition bloc, is they are dealing with an animal that is of the same nature. In other words, corruption is in the country. It's without a doubt. So you're going to hear everyone sing that same song of corruption because the country has gone into a destructive, corruptible path from past governments. You're going to see what I think in degree of fairness, since we're speaking about, his positivity, what I see that he has that may be a strength to him will be his knowledge and the adherence to the rule of law. Now, I can speak about all night on my candidate, and I will contrast in a minute. But I think being a lawyer, and it doesn't give him an advantage because he's a lawyer, but he has, as a lawyer, you have the ability and you're constrained to the rule of law. And that's what a lot of the US presidents, you will find a lot of them have backgrounds in law. That helps in the character building, wherein there is a respect for the rule of law, which is something that is completely lacking in this government. The rule of law. I think this government feels like they can sort of change the Constitution at will, amend it at will, do whatever they want at will, without adhering to what the framers of the Constitution said. GONGLOE has that advantage in the sense of he's already wired to be able to appreciate the rule of law. And whatever we say, or however you are, whoever you are, the very first thing you have to understand to be a leader is to have a kind of constitutionalist character, which means you're going to put the body of law, which is the Constitution, above your feelings and above everything that exists in the country. Whatever the Constitution said, that's what we go by. So right off the bat, I think he has that as an advantage. He should know the Constitution. And if he push on that, I think he will at least begin to show the people that he understands that they have the power. See, the thing is, the Liberian government now refuses and to understand in previous government that in the Constitution, the very source of power is solely in the people. It is not within them. It is within the people. And someone who can understand that, like even though we're talking about, GONGLOE now, but one of the things that attracted me to the brain and the knowledge of Magdala Cooper is because she understood the Constitution, and she knows that the Constitution gives the power to the people, so the people execute that power. You work for the people. But in the government now, it seems as if that the people work for them, they do whatever they want, execute whatever they want, and it's at will. So I think, again, GONGLOE, if we're on him and speaking about his path to the presidency, that's one of the things that I would say he has some edge, because if our people will understand that they have the power, they will know that they will vote for the right person, which in my case, of course, will be Magdala Cooper.
Okay, quickly before I go to the guys, but the question now, can he and his Liberian People Party can singularly defeat the sitting president? Does it need collaboration? Does it need some sort of alignment with other political party to do it?
Well, in terms of collaboration, I don't know what is in his mind. I don't think he can single-handedly do it, just because, with the demographics of people that you're dealing with, especially in the Liberian people, again, you cannot win election without the votes of people. So in order to reach the people, he is an astute man. And I think as smart as he could be and is, I think the degree of his smartness may sort of shield him from the very grassroots of the everyday people. So that is something he's lacking. He may have to collaborate with other person to take him there. I don't see him doing it single-handedly. For the simple reason is, as brilliant as he may be, I don't see him having the ability to reach the people, especially the grassroots people.
The grassroots people. Okay, so we're going to have our friend here. He's strong. He said he's a constitutionalist guy. After Solo, he's going to be joining us here this evening. So let me go to the liberal.
Yes, Mr. So.
Good evening and welcome. Look, and we are finding all possibilities. Everybody say they will win George. They will be George. They will do this here, but how will it be done? Councillor TIAWAN GONGLOE, we're going to be talking about, of course, you can bring other stuff too as well, all things considered. What do you make of him?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, he's a decent a good human being, well structured, good family man. This is a person that I consider to be the President of Liberia, who will take on cases that many people would think that they plaintiffs or whoever is going to be representing is doomed, and then he will come up based on his legal strategy, and most of the time try to win the case, fight for the poor. So I think he stands a very good chance. However, knowing what I do know about Liberian politics, I think any one of these political leaders, they're not that they are unable to challenge the current government and its leadership. They can. But however, the fact that they're able and can does not necessarily translate to winning. So those are the two separate things that they're going to have to quickly recognize and see what would be the best way to make President Weah a one-term president. Now, interesting, I think. The president, when he was here, he spoke with the Liberian diaspora. I wasn't there, but some of the stuff that I'm reading, if they are true, some of the comment he was making is that he liked for Liberian diaspora to join him in Liberia to make sure that Liberians enjoy some of the fruitful contribution that the Liberian diaspora makes in the United States and in other places in the world. However, what I didn't hear from the president was that maybe he has spoke about that, but I never heard it, and maybe he did. But what I was hoping to hear, and I still have not heard it, maybe it's there, but I don't know that. And that was there to see how the Liberian diaspora that he's quoting to come to Liberia, are we not able to vote in Liberia? What is this message? How is he working on that? And I heard today on our sister network, Chairman Musa Ability of the CPP Liberty Party, it's saying that in a very short term they will be taking the matter to the court. He quoted the Constitution, and I think that was very interesting. If the president, on one hand, can say Liberian diaspora are capable of helping moving the country forward, but stop short of encouraging and trying to even pass the legislation or whatever is going to be needed for us to vote while we're here in the diaspora. I think if that happens, that will be a game changer, to be honest with you. One other thing, Mr. So, I think the idea of collaboration among these people, it's not late yet, but I think the train is fast, yelling on board, and I think they are closing the door to start. And if they do, I hope what I'm hoping, instead of them coming together from the beginning now, I hope that they will go their separate way, but with a clear understanding. Because definitely none of them would be able, including the current government, that will be able to defeat the opposition the first round. So we know people will go second round. But I hope the opposition will have some sort of understanding, clear understanding, with commitment from each other. That if I do go second with President Weah, that you and your people will support me. And they need to have that kind of conference where commitment can be made, and hopefully they will keep that commitment, to be able to process that, because there's no one person going to be able to defeat the sitting president.
Okay, Mr. Solot, the guy from the Constitutionalist guy. Good evening and welcome, and dear brother.
Thank you, Mr. So, and good evening to everybody. I'm very glad to be here tonight. As I watch both panelists coming out with their statements and comments, and something struck me to Mr. Sampson, saying that the president did not mention anything about them, the diaspora people coming to Liberia to vote or to be part of the illiterate. He didn't say anything about it. That's simply not true. I was sitting less than 2 feet away from the president when he said it. But once, as long as you are a citizen of Liberia, you are afforded all the right constitutionally to vote, protest, to do everything. So we have the dual citizenship, except where he said that somebody is taking the government forward based on that dual citizenship. We have to find out the reality behind it to see what are the same bill that came from the opposition bloc that they resubmitted when the president submitted it first. They killed it. They killed the referendum, and they themselves looked at it and resubmitted the same bill without ordering it or anything, except for a few minuses that the president changes around and send it forward. So, yeah, let's go to the Supreme Court and see what it will say. But I can assure you, the Supreme Court going to tell you exactly what is in that bill. It's not going to change it because a political party feels so squeezed. But that's another thing. And you can go ahead with the opposition bloc saying that, oh, yeah, we're going to make the president one term. That's a good thing. If I say that, I say I want to be the host of LPR. That's a good thing. I'm thinking about it. I want to be Jesus Christ. That's a good thing. That's my thinking. It's not reality. If you want to make the president one term, prove one thing that you can do that will show the people that yes, they made serious, like the opposition are serious, they can make the president one term president. You stage your protest or rally, whatever you call it. The man crushed it, but just arriving into the country. That's one thing. Just arriving. He didn't even have anything set up. He didn't tell you, say, oh, yeah, oh, we're having a ride. Just arriving for diaspora. Why everybody been crying that he spent 48 days across the country, the continent. Yeah, he arrived and he crushed your rally that you plan and televised and campaign on it. You got t-shirts printing. So I find it difficult when people from the GONGLOE camp that saying, you even if Alexander Cummings was saying it, I was saying, yeah, okay, he has 7% into the election. I would say that. But you, GONGLOE, you had none yet. None. So it is the idea behind it, the only way to move forward as an opposition, I will encourage them to stick with the collaboration and start stabbing each other in the back. That's one. Two, you cannot pour a new wine into old bottles and try to carry it around. It will bust that bottle because it's fresh. Look around. When you people get to campaign for your right and telling people they are suffering, people that cut other people family down like animals. These are the same people coming back today. Say, Liberian people are suffering. We need better government. I'm a pro-government. If the government does wrong, hold the government accountable. Yes, that's why we have the Constitution. You know, I hold government accountable on several issues.
Okay, so quickly here.
Corruption today did not come from Madam Helen Justice Sally, charted in the vanguard since the country opened eyes as a country. Even in the glorious state of New Jersey, New York, Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States, there's still corruption. They are fighting it. We have to just fight to minimize it, to make sure that the system works for us.
Okay, so quickly, the central case question here before going to Dolake and Amos Joy. Can Councillor TIAWAN GONGLOE, in the absence of collaboration, can he beat President George Weah? Solo.
I don't see any chance of it. None.
Okay. All right. So, Dolake, good evening again. Welcome. And I want to be coming to Pa George. And after that was central board questioned, and then we can push around on some of the things that you think we can talk about or do you have under your belt. So, Dolake, here we come again. We are looking at Councillor TIAWAN GONGLOE, the poor man lawyer, the advocates, and you heard Dr. Toronkat put it into context here with respect to Councillor GONGLOE, some of the things he brings to the table that will advantage him as well, but still something still there. Can Councillor GONGLOE and only LPP defeat the sitting president?
Thank you so very kindly. And I feel quite warm to see all of you here, including Prince and Arthur. At least we'll have a CDC conversation today. But your question is very, very cardinal. And I will begin by answering your question on the basis as to whether for the past 2 consecutive elections in Liberia, any political party had won it all by themselves, including the former ruling Unity Party and the Coalition for Democratic Change. The answer that will inform my judgment to share my thought here is that Unity Party won 2011 as a merger party of 3 political parties as a ruling party. And the CDC did not get all of the opposition political parties, but won the election as a coalition on the back of the NPP and the LPDP with Alex Starter. From that perspective, I'm of the view that the LPP, Liberian People Party, that have existed with more technocrats than grassroots-based people, will not be able to win the election all by itself as an opposition party. So too, striking a balance. So too, the Congress for Democratic Change will never won an election as a Congress for Democratic Change. But having said that, let me just state on the record that when you hear us speak about the issue of we are being a one-term president, which I just like to digress in few seconds, it is not because President Weah is tall or he won Ballon d'Or. It is not because we hate President Weah and our hate will compel him to not be president for the second time. It is because of other primary reasons, which will enumerate time to come, but among them, that our Treasury Department of the United States of America has sanctioned this president, officials of government. And the president is lackadaisical. The president is a laissez-faire leader who has given us no committee that leads that investigation and a timetable to execute, and even requesting the Treasury Department of this expert in order to adjudicate or render judgment through investigation and provide findings. This is not the kind of president that should be in the 21st century dealing with bilateral people that are transparent, credible. So for Arthur to come here, my brother Arthur, and want to say corruption in America, so it's not matter whether corruption in Liberia, it debates the argument because he's in America, because it has opportunity. And the only thing that protecting the opportunity is transparency and credibility. Or else you need to go back to Liberia.
All right, I think we got a full house, so we're going to make our point strictly to the point, not to sanction your views or your opinion. Emma George, good evening, welcome.
Good evening, how you doing?
Great. We still try to pull this board around the room, and we're going to reach out to all of the main contenders into this whole thing here. The poor man lawyer, can his advocacy translate into him getting to the presidency, just LPP? And good Dr. Toto is here, who is a strong progressive advocate, even though he fight he's supporting. But can he and the LPP just get a seal?
Let me just buttress or repeat what Judith said. Our history speaks for itself. Councilor General Congo cannot win upright election by himself at this point. The history I'm talking about is that in modern Liberia, no political party has won upright 50 plus 1% of the vote. They all coalesced around merging with other parties to do so. The most talk about George Weah two terms, never won election. The highest he reached was 37%. With Joseph Boakai, 37%. With all the popularity, he never got crossed 40% before I say 50%. So the history is there. So I don't see why we'll be going around. Anyway, for the purpose, we can discuss it. But for me, that just my short answer. These are the parameters we look at to measure, to say this had never happened, and to happen, we have not seen it before. So even if the election was held today, George Weah will not win 50% upright, because it never happened. We saw it when he had no record. Today he has record. But let me just throw another thing. Mr. Solo mentioned. He talked about putting wine in your bottle. I have consistently and persistently said on this show that we should start going down the rabbit hole. I sure you were talking to Joseph Boakai, because that's what the person I'm referring to, or these people that's broken, this and that. But I don't know you represent the CDC or sympathize with the CDC. I just want to remind you, who is Charles Bright that worked for George Weah today? Who is Emmanuel Shaw that worked for George Weah today? Prince Johnson, he collaborated with Prince Johnson. What is Prince Johnson's role in the civil process that you're saying that people that cut down people's relatives? What was Prince Johnson's role in the Civil War? And today, George Weah worked with him to win an election. So why people want to go down the rabbit hole of pointing other people? I have told you people, those that sympathize with CDC, you cannot make this case because I just gave you names. Except you come in tell me that those people did not participate in the war. George Weah worked on Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf contributed $10,000 United States dollars. 1989, July 26th. BBC got it. She said they should lower the man, he'll be drinking champagne. And George Weah worked at Google ambassador on her. So what is this argument about? Who is this clean person in Liberia that you people want to go after other people? I continue to advise Liberians. A lot of weight. If we want to prove people guilty, let us start the War and Economic Crime Code, where people have the days in court. But other than that, it's just mere speculation, and we have to start blaming people that we disagree because they are not in our column. The moment they're in our column, then they have nothing they have done in Liberia. They are clean as snow. And this is the mentality that I always say about we Liberians. We got two sets of human beings. When you're on my side, I forget about all the negatives about you. When you're on the other side, then I point out everything, the ills in you. And this is why we do best. And this is why I see again, continue the seditions, continue to play this role. But I just want you to tell me that these people had a name. If they never participated in the war, then of course, you prove me wrong. Let me just leave it at that point.
Okay.
So,
all right. Let's I think we got a crowded horse here. So please take notes if there's any specific thing you want to record, but let's give it to everybody and let's just get strictly to the point. Dr. Toto.
Yes.
Good evening.
Yeah. Good evening also. Good evening to all the gentlemen studio. And compliment the season.
Wish you the same.
Good to see
you guys in the hot seat here this evening. Only our hot seat. I'm not sure the temperature of that seat. That for sure I can't tell you. But this whole thing, I don't know what's happening with Kamara. Listening, he been wanting to come. I don't know what's happening with his system. Check his system. Look, the counselor, extraordinary record, his advocate, and the Dr. Taronka just pointed out as well. But do you think, looking at the political landscape in the country there, can Councillor GONGLOE and the LPP do it to get this to the finishing line if they do not create some sort of union to solidify their political base?
First of all, as I said some time ago on the show, yeah, if you look at the faces of the various political leaders that vying for the presidencies in Liberia, why why it is true that the pathway, the problems there may look difficult. But if you look at the caliber of people, I think the LPP and the council have a better chance among all the candidates that vying for the big position that they all running for Liberia. The councillors have a better chance, but some will be welcome, somehow, someday, some will be welcome. And to Arthur making some comment, look, when it come to moral compass of individual that contest in the election here, I think the CDC and Arthur they should get for all of that debate. Let them leave it with us, with the opposition, black. They will deal with ANC about it, or the CDC, but CDC should get out of that conversation because they had no moral compass to even question the people that Alexander coming along with, because they carry the heavy baggage of it. So let them get out of that conversation and leave it all with the opposition. Now, if you look at all these, people, the CDC side, the ANC side, who is there? The councillor. And the councillor is the one that already scared to make that big difference. He has everything to bring the change the Liberian would need. And we still believe for the progressive that people are arguing a lot to say the progressive are not winning election like the progressive are not doing anything. But I think this area, the Liberian people need to get it straight down and understand that the pathway for good leadership in Liberia lies in the hands of the progressive or the LPP. And our people continue to make the mistake. They continue to go down the pathway or therefore at the end of the day, they all regret. They did it first with Charles at the time. They regret that. They did it about any justice at the time. They regret that. Now they do joy we are. They are regretting again. The pathway to a successful leadership in Liberia lies in the hands of the progressive. The progressive have been there before. The progressive have been tested before when it comes to the economy in Liberia, when it comes to change in Liberia, when it comes to multi-party democracy that we enjoy today, everything the progressive fought for it that we enjoy today. But for instead of them putting the big ball in the progressive here, they continue to stay for it, and then they are being hit. Each time they are being hit against the wall, they will come back. The accidental tail law of emotion. Each time they be hit against the wall, they come back. But I think this is the time that the Liberian people can clearly see that the progressive has the leadership skill to lead that country. We see the councillor go around. Councillor making a lot of move around the country. And the popularity of George Weah. That's why I told somebody we shouldn't be carried away. George Weah came from abroad a few days. People printed t-shirts that they gave it to people to go work on here. Don't be carried about the thing. Those are all political rhetoric. When the dam is cast, that's the time you know where the Liberian people already stand. People are tired with George Weah leadership. They are completely tired with the leadership here. The leadership is one of the most failure leadership that Liberia ever produced. And the people are feeling the pain of it. They know. The people know very well they're feeling the pain. But they don't want to come up. So nobody should be caring about George Weah putting free people on the street in the center. No. Let enter election period. That's the time you know. But the progressive have the clear path to lead this country here. The other thing, we just want for our other opposition brother, the ANC, and other guys to join on board and make it or want to knock our TKO for George Weah.
Okay. I don't know what's going on with Kamara stuff here. Okay. After hold your peace, let me go back to Dr. Taranka and let us do with you don't necessarily have to speak to A if there are other things that you really want to talk to. Dr. Tankara, there's a big divided house. Divided house in the sense that everybody is standing their ground. And that could make it possibly difficult because everybody seems to be the right person. I'm not sure. We can't rule it out that as they will not come as to whether that consensus will take place in the dying minute. But what should they be focusing on now? If they have one central point goal to say, okay, we don't want this guy to continue, but nobody is willing to make that sacrifice. And they're just telling us, say, oh, we will be this guy. This is happening. This is happening. Is that sufficient?
I think to some degree, I sort of agree with Amos on the political apparatus, the way it's structured. Everybody go into the race with the idea of changing the country and wanting to win and sit on that highest seat. But as we know, the way things are structured, it's going to start in the process of elimination. I mean, at some point, people will be dropping off. And as they are dropping off, I think what they should be concentrating on is watching which one of the other individual parties that are strong and aligned with your own agenda. Because you're going to have some people going to start dropping off and trickling off of this bus. That's just how elections going to work. Because you're going to have one contender that will be one or two contenders that will be contending against the president. Now, at least we are all in agreement that all of these strong candidates all agree that the fact that we have a semi-celebrity who has no fundamental grasp of governance or have no fundamental grasp of what the Constitution requires of a leader. We all agree, and I think they're making really good stride by letting the people know that, listen, the power belongs to you. And I think if they take that power that they have and understand that they have been bamboozled in the last, couple of years by this president, the people will understand. Focus on the people. Focus on the people. That is your commodity. That is your resource. Focus on the people. The people is the one that is going to put you in, at the very least, that's what the Constitution said. As far as collaborating, I think, those are all leaders. Those are strong leaders. They're all in this race to win. Independently, we're talking about GONGLOE. I flat out don't think he can do this on his own. But I think right now, in the back of each one of their heads, they need to start thinking about who can I conjoin with and who can I collab with as this thing is start tapering down, and there's going to be room for that. At the end, once we get to the end and we have a contender that is going to contend against the president, and they're all on the same page, throw all of their weight behind that one person instead of divide. That's where the concern should be. Because when it comes down to it, you're going to have two strong people. You're going to have two strong candidates who's going to be, the president and another candidate who will be contending for the highest seat. Now, the talks need to be, when we get to that final race, whoever is going to elevate to that second seat of potential, we all need to put our weight behind them instead of dividing, because you might get to the very last wire and some of them might divide and actually go on the side of the president, because that's how politics works. Whatever palm is being greased or whatever, these people lose their integrity. And I'm not suggesting any one of them, these opposition blocks, especially not my candidate. But what I'm saying is there are talks, and the president is going to get really aggressive when he realizes who is falling off in this race, to start talking to them to gain their support. But how strong are you guys that you want to make him a one-term president? And I think as an analyst, I'm looking at all of them need to start looking at who will be a strong contender for me to collab with, so that we can elevate to knock him out of that seat, But right now, I think the talks is for someone to say early on in the game, let me make myself second seat and let me collab right now. And I still think even a collaboration now is not going to give the kind of strong contention that they need. They should all work hard, fight hard, get to where they have to go. And when they know that they cannot move forward, then they have to align very strongly with a party that they know can knock George Weah off. But certainly we are all in agreement, and we're exhausted. We are truly exhausted with the manner in which this country is being handled. They've taken this country and handed it to an ill-equipped football player, so to speak, that didn't have any training in this, and in some way we are expecting him, and then aligning himself with people who are not pointing, who are enabling some of the behavior that is not allowing him to rise above to the level where he's supposed to go. And that is that's the worst part. A leader is as strong. We always say in our community as lawyers, you are as good as your client. You can have the best case in the world. If your client's not giving you the kind of evidence you need to go to court and fight, you're going to lose. And that is exactly why is losing, because the people around him are enabling his inabilities.
Okay. So, Arthur, you claim a constitutionalist guy. I think the red meat really heavily came on you. So, let's hear from you.
I think I need to pile another one on there, Mr. So, before he can come.
Before you come in, you ask me, let me get my time.
No. Arthur, you got to have a response from the liberal before you come in.
Well, okay.
You're going to add another layer to Arthur?
Yes.
Wait a minute. Is that a conspiracy?
Well, no, he came in and he didn't come as the way of being discussion. His line of discussion did not take on the intellectual that I thought that perhaps would have come out of him. Instead, he came in and decided to go the way that he knew very well he has no winning hand in this. But he decided to force that anyway. So I need to disabuse him on that before you can come in. Arthur, good evening. Welcome, Liberian Public Radio. This is what we do here.
Well, I've been here before. Thank you for welcoming.
That's fine. But here's what I have to say to you.
And I ran into you too many times on auto show. So yeah, bring it up.
Yes. But first thing first. The first thing I stated when I was talking earlier was that I have not heard or have not seen. I did not claim that the president didn't make that statement. So the fact that I have some sort of
and I told you he made, so I clarify your doubt.
That's right, but your clarification did not take the tone that perhaps. But I'm not going to debate with you, Mr. This is Liberal Public Radio. Arthur, when we're talking, we don't interrupt. When you were speaking, I didn't say anything. I let you express yourself freely. And I think here on Liberal Public Radio, we do expect ourselves to be expressed freely without any hindrance or whatsoever. So please, if you don't mind, let a liberal continue to express himself freely. Thank you. Now, let me also take you on to this other round. I'm not going to debate with you. I know I stated it, but thank you for your clarification. Let me take this other line, Arthur. You said people who line other people up or what have you. I don't know what exactly the term that was used here, but this is what I'm going to say to you and the likes. You can't come into this debate holding that line up when you have the former president's wife standing by the president when he's saying we're fixing what the people broke. Who broke what? You can't have to come to this debate when you have the president as one of the highest insider, former Cllr economic advisor. You can't come to this debate when you have somebody who is sitting by the president and you're talking about corruption everywhere. You have somebody who saw the plane of the Republic of Liberia sitting in the office of the president as an advisor. You guys have so much baggage. We're trying to help you out. We're trying to make you to be the Liberians that we want you to be. You can't come here and try to, because when we start enumerating all of the baggage you have, all of the unforced error that you have made over the years, you will have no place to stay on Liberian Public Radio. However, I will do myself a favor and do you a favor as a Liberian and say this is the place where we come to discuss an intellectual issue. But I will advise at the same time, I'm not here to make friends. I'm not here for kumbaya. I am here to be truthful. And from that perspective, actor, welcome. However, give us something that perhaps we can try to discuss with you and not feel sorry for you in trying to educate you in terms of Liberians and what have we have done. We're speaking Prince Johnson, who was part of your group, NPP. We don't want to touch those things because we got people that are part of your group that when we start enumerating, you will have no place to sit on Liberian Public Radio. Mr. So, and now you can ask him a question because perhaps he brought it on himself, and so the Liberal is happy to oblige. Thank you.
Okay. So, Atta.
Yes.
Go ahead. I think there were a lot of responses, but let's see. Condense it. Let's see.
I will. You know, I want to thank the Liberal. Say he's I want one tiny thing I want to put out here. I'm not representing the CDC. I never said I represented the CDC. When Mr. Soder knows me very well, so do my senior brother, Dr. Josh Toto over there. Yeah, I'm a pro-government. He and I been on some other platform, okay? But I'm not.
You pro-government?
Yeah, even during heading time, I was still pro-government.
But when you pro-government, what does that mean? If you pro to a government,
I don't support the CDC as a party. So I'm not a
Can we have a conversation? Let his
thank you.
Okay.
You see, that's the thing I'm going to come to. Here, you this is a free area to express yourself, but people telling me you can't do this. What exactly you restricting my speech for? You know, this is but
I'm not restricting.
No, I'm talking to the Liberal guy that telling me that what I can't do here.
Oh, okay.
If I'm free to speak sort of here. You know, I don't think the LPR will censor my speech or my idea or my thinking. If you want to educate me, that's what we're having a debate. So don't try to tell me what I cannot do in a free flow environment. Thank you for that one. Number two, I will come to our only female doctor. She said that this president cannot grasp anything constitutionally. I want if she can name one breach of any constitutional thing that the president had done that is still ongoing, that need to be fixed, and we all perhaps can get together and fix it. If the president is incompetent on executing constitutional rights and other constitutional breach, name it. But it's good just to speak out the words without context behind it. And Mr. George Avon, when I came in, I never named Joseph Walker when I talk about new wine, the old bottle. One thing you said Prince Johnson. Prince Johnson is duly elected by the citizenry. That's one. He's not appointed by anybody. The same people that you claim.
George Weah?
Let me finish. I said Prince Johnson don't work for George Weah. He was elected by the people. He don't work for George Weah. He's a senator. This is the place that you could get clouded when it comes to people's constitutional rights. You know, the reason why I mentioned that saying, if you were to ask me, I would explain it. For years upon years, the ANC believed that Joe Weah and his criminal guys are all criminal. He's the Mr. Clean guy. Good, we got it. If you were Mr. Clean guy, how can you bring back the old dogs that were in the backyard biting people? That's the point I was making. But you're flying all over the place like, oh, you got these people. Yeah, but that the people we got when AMC said that we were criminal and we sort of accepted it, right? You're talking about the vice president, the former constitutional person. Well, that person duly elected, except if you can say he was not elected, Charles Taylor was not elected. Charles Taylor, after the war, he was duly elected. So I don't know the argument here. The Madam Jewel Howard Taylor that you're talking about, she was duly elected by the same electorate that you're talking about. This is why I find it very much confusing when you say, oh, we're going to make the president a one term. It's a good thing to say, Like I said, I can come here and say I want to be the host of LPR. I want to be the new Muammar Gaddafi. I want to be the new Daniel Cormier of the USC. I can say all that, but that's just my own unilateral thinking. The reality, maybe the doctor did not understand that she said, oh yeah, she have an immigration background, so do I. You know, in the United States here, a CBP officer alone without a judge can throw you back to the country you came from without any reason, but his or her reason. Based on her own or his own review can deport you. They don't need a judge for that. That's what I was saying. You're talking about, oh yeah, sanction. You and I know is not like to say that, oh, that let's say Mr. So invited me in a house, I'm supposed to go there and say, you know what I just say? You may plow with George Toto, don't come to my house. Okay? If I don't go to your house, so what? Because we are so dependent on the Americans. That's why, and we want to keep the country calm. So if something happened, everybody run to the American embassy. Everything that happened, we don't go to the ECOWAS. We run to the American embassy. We don't go to the AU. We run to the American embassy. But tackling session, you, Dr. George Toto, Dr. Kiman, even Mr. George over there, tackling session can be anybody. It doesn't require to be proved or proven by anybody. So I'm very confused on things that you could yelling about here. Yeah, but if I even want to represent the CDC, as all of you align yourself, I don't see any impeccable evidence that you show tonight that, oh yeah, we have this. Let me give you a little bit of advice on collaboration. When you want to collaborate, even the GONGLOE man you're talking about, what I would tell you, Cummings can do better when he extricates himself from the rest of the party and join TIAWAN GONGLOE. You know why? Because he can use that advantage and point them out at the time and say, you know what? These are the same people that bear in there. They don't do anything good. I'm a new guy. Give me a chance. And people will be swayed by it. So you from the ANC side, that's what I have to advise you on. But all those things that you naming, all the people that you naming, like in Georgia administration, these are the people that Alexander Cummings refer to, the ANC or the CPP refer to as criminal. We say, okay, you were not the criminal guy, you were the lawyer guy, the lawyer lady that have all the good credentials. Your first people to lead your campaign, that people that shoot wife, husbands, and take their fathers away from people that we even know. If you want to tell me, oh yeah, don't go down that rabbit hole. Which rabbit hole should we go down to? Tell me, which rabbit hole? The one, I'm still speaking, Mr. George. I'm still speaking. When I'm done, you will come.
Uncle George, lead it, man. I'm finished with that thing.
Yeah, let me speak. Yeah. So tell me, what kind of rabbit hole you want us to go into? Just cover it up in the dirt in the background. Don't talk about it since it's on our side, right? But it's weird. I didn't kill the fly. Oh no, he's a bad guy. He's incompetent. He's inept. He's in debt. He's not treating the country right. The country is broken because of him. Tell me the last GDP that the country had that was growth or passing the GDP on any government. Name it. Zip. Nothing. But all you throw in because maybe you want the ending era, what consultants were making $100,000 a month. Or maybe it's bad for John. We have to say, look, let's harmonize the payroll that somebody in River G, a nurse in River G County, can make that same 150 as the nurse in Monrovia here. Or the secretary for the director general in some office can make the same $3,000 across the board. Or maybe the justice department or the justice system the employees should start paying their taxes too, because it's been a long time they don't pay their taxes. Maybe that's what Dr. Kiman was referring to as maybe the main constitutionally breaching thing. Or maybe what we talk about the what is it? Freedom Information Act. You can
Mr.
call the
So,
president,
is this
No, Samson, hold on. No, wait. I don't think we should do this.
You know, you just
if we were talking about going to call in, everybody had their time.
Yeah, but he's taking more time.
Listen, you spoke first, and you said you wanted to add a layer. You went on and went
but
on.
I didn't.
So
I
why
didn't.
can't-
He's
it's my
now
time
you
now.
are eating into our
you can't
time.
manipulate the time like that. And
It's
hoping
not you that
throwing
controlling
everything
the
on
time.
the wall, hoping that it would stick.
Mr. Liberal guy.
We
It's
can't
not
allow
you
him to
that
do that.
controlling the time.
No. You talk about people not sanctioning people, and then you want to sanction people. I don't think that is fair. If I read it, I would call you up. But now you are intercepting into the conversation. I don't think that's fair, though.
It's not fair. You were speaking, we gave you the time. You see, this is what we're talking about. If it's on your side, it's good. This is not a country, no country for old man. Have and wait till you lose. No, that's not how we do it. You have your time, you spoke, and I'm breaking out facts. For you, you just view the worst. There's no evidence towards it. So let us be on the facts. I hold 3 people here, including yourself, to bring some evidence that the president has breached this. Maybe we fix it.
Okay.
Nobody here is bigger than anybody.
Dr. Tonkara, she uses a word here. I don't know in which context, but that's her area. So, Dr. Tonkara. Toronka. Yes. So, you said something which I thought was responding to a constitutional breach. Is that what you said?
Well, I never used the word breach anything constitutional, so I think he's misquoting me in that context. I never indicated
the man is a constitutionalist, so you gotta remind him.
I never said the word that the president is in breach of the Constitution. So I don't know. I think he said so much that I totally just sort of veered off in what point he was trying to make. What I was trying to say, I said it's lacking. You know, I'm very big on understanding that when a leader gets into office, you hold the Constitution at its highest, and that doesn't necessarily mean you're knowing so much the details of the Constitution. There is a certain characteristics as a constitutionalist that you carry, you know. And for example, I mean, it's a I can't sit here and miss anything that he supposedly breached the Constitution. I don't think that would be fair in him, but holding the country above your interests. It's presenting yourself where you're respecting the Constitution when you hold the country's interest above your own interest, and that's what I meant. For example, I know the country has been buzzing. Everybody's buzzing about the absence of the president. I think that's holding, whether he left for the country's interest or his interest. I think the whole appearance of it, some of it appeared he was holding his interest above the country. I remember there was he got into New York, I believe. I don't remember the year. I was trying to kind of Google it. He got into New York and say it's good to be back home. Now, there's no sitting president that will go to in any country, even in jest, and would say it's good to be back home. It draws the kind of attention, and some of his own personal gain, and the lack, just the lack of the understanding of how government works. Say that he just lacks the understanding and holding that the Constitution, which is the body that governs the entire nation and not his interests. Sometimes he does. Now, as far as in breaching, you can't breach clauses of the Constitution because you're not in contract of the Constitution. Well, you kind of are. Let me backpedal on that. But he didn't breach. I never stated that he breached the Constitution.
All right. All right, so then we're going to move to the second phase. Is there anybody want to make a specific reference?
So, if I be asked,
Let's
do it one at a time.
Okay, let me just say this here.
Let's do it one at a time.
Let me just say this quickly. I think what is happening right now, and you guys know me. I don't beat around the bush. I think Arthur is really debasing this conversation, this platform, to a level that have not been seen before, from my perspective. He comes out here and throw everything on the wall, hoping that something will stick, without any kinds of intellectual backing of whatever he's saying. And this is ridiculous. This is not something we do. We come out here, people come out and watch us and listen to us to have a conversation that perhaps they can take out. But he goes to this place, take a point from here, and get here that does not even intellectually not lining up. And when you want us to sit here and continue with it, this is ridiculous. I think this is also testing my level of patience here tonight, because I almost walk off the stage, to be honest with you. Because this is
why I can't leave. This is listen.
How can I debate somebody who's coming up with conversation that have no standing? Where do I go to respond to it?
Let me come in. Look, guys, we have. You see,
we have to respond.
It is acceptable. Gentle, are coming, please. I'm coming. You say you're going to walk off, I don't know on what basis, and this is why we're not getting anywhere in the country, because if you will want to hear only, you want your side to be heard.
You don't understand that. You can't listen to me. I'm talking, because that's not what I said. I said the reason why I said I almost walk out, not because not because I don't agree with his point, but so how do you debate something? What was the basis of you walking out? The point is, he's coming out here making some points.
You are not the one to determine that.
No basics. How do you respond to that? How do you respond to something that doesn't make it's not even lining up?
No. Listen, we gotta get it right. You are not the one to determine whether he's making sense or he's not making sense. The audience, the listeners will be the one to define his argument. I think fair enough. So are you saying if we were to bring in CDC person here, in as much Professor Zavro were making some argument, will we say we shouldn't listen? I don't think that is fair.
You're missing my point still.
I'm not missing it because you're refusing to listen. Okay, can we make progress, please? Can we make progress?
Go
ahead. Dr. Toto, what you say you wanted to ask?
No, I wanted to make a comment also about the point that the author was saying, especially the comment you are making, talking about the GDP. He want to compare the GDP from the past regime and then with the present regime. I think author need to do some good research on that. If you look about the Eddie Johnson study, if you say you are pro government policy or whatsoever, I don't think you want to go back to about this senator and say the GDP. And look at the government here. Look at inflation right now in this government here. Inflation pushing so hard about 70%, one of the least on the continent of Africa. And then John, we have a boss in the last time talking about inflation about 9% when you came from here. The direct what kind of direct investment or foreign policy are really going on in Liberia right now. The economy, everything is completely down. You talk about increasing salary or whatsoever. Those are things that in reality. The GDP right now is so bad. Look at just look at the census. The census, I don't know what last census have been conducted here. It could not even start on a good 40. You don't know the total population of the country right now here. You don't know whether we have a decrease in the population or we have increase in the population. How do we allocate resources in the rural area to come and do districts for election? And that even it's completely down. So I thought, don't trade aside. This CDC government is completely bad. It's completely bad. The reason why they're getting the passes going on because our people have a double minded. They are not there having a goose air when kind of making sound decision on the bottom box. And that's why the CDC government is using on the corridor of the people. That's what's happening. But this government is completely bad. You know that. So don't bring economic development policy about this year. No, don't do that. You're a good guy. I know you, man. Don't do that.
You have spoken, Arthur, so we got to respond.
I had to respond to the question so I don't forget.
Okay, so this is no. Listen, we're not going to have like a courthouse here. We have an issue here, and let me just say this: whatever they say, breaking it down to intellect. I mean, I'm not going to argue here, but the fight here in intellectual conversation, both sides got to be heard. If somebody says something that is not a fight, if somebody says something that is not a wrong, you can bring them to point. You can tell me what to say. You got, and you're acting like the same something we're talking here. You want me to provide the answer. So you want to tell somebody to provide answers that you think appeasing to you. I don't think that's the basis of our conversation. It has not been that, and it will never be that. And so we have to create this open-ended conversation. If somebody says something that is wrong, call them to a point. Bring your facts, lay out the agenda, and let the audience define it. I think that's the basis of real engagement, but not to come here to say, yes, even though there's an elephant in the room, so we should all just get out. Then what's the essence of all encouraging other people to come to have a conversation? And how do we even get the system right? If other people still feel that that's the system, this trust in, the belief in, how do we have this conversation to get a system right? I think that is not fair. Anybody can make an analysis, and I stand by that. So to say that you're doing this because you're laying down here, there's no basis of any conversation here. We bring out the facts and we have to discuss it. If you say it, you agree with me, persuade me that I will agree with you. George, move on to your point, so we'll move to the next one before our time runs out.
No, okay. Move to the next one. I have my second time of the discussion.
We do it one at a time. George.
Sorry, let me respond to George and the
no, I think the response will be, because there are other people who come, so why not just take note, and then when they're done, you can have your say.
I have a lot of notes, but I might forget it. That will make me to go longer. So let me do it 2 by 2. So I'm the only opposition.
No,
on the
but
platform.
if you do respond, it means that when you respond to that response, other people respond. This is your second time making comment that you are given fair chance. I've only made one comment.
You know what?
So you want to come back? I'll respond to your response.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
We're not going to do ANC and George. We are respond to respond. Respond to respond. Yeah. Everybody kind of like compliments like that. Jeez, I see why the politics in Liberia going the way it's going.
Now you see it. They are all
people are unable to sit in the conference room to sort out the differences. Go ahead, Mr. George.
Let me say this. Mr. So is moderating the show. And if anybody raises their hand and he said this, I think we should all respect it. That's why I've been quiet, listening to back and forward. And that is the pattern we have here. Mr. Arthur, let me first take your point, salaries. You talk about harmonization. Today, there are people in Liberia that make $50, $40 to $60. Honor your harmonization you refer to. Go and check your Ministry of Finance. The testimony is there. Last week, we feel like were in the street. So to say that to come and justify that everybody making the same amount, that is not true. The records are there. 1. 2, when you say you pro-government, what does that mean? For me, my definition is you support that particular government. But you said no. So tell me what a pro-government meant for a particular regime.
This is how you ask questions. You don't adjudicate. That's a perfect way of asking questions. So we gave it a chance. So you got to take note when people are saying stuff. So Arthur, can you respond to that quickly?
Yeah, I want you to finish the third question. I can answer that all at once.
Do you have another follow-up question, Mr. George?
Yeah, I have nothing. You talk about, you said the president spoke about people's rights. If they are anybody who is born in Liberia is a Liberian. But it is not by talking, Mr. Arthur. Let me inform you. It is what is on the book written. The recent dual citizen law, the past, it did not mention that Liberians will be allowed to vote. So even if the person talk it's not on the book, my brother. You have to go back to amend that. The Constitution, the lawyer is right here. That was not there. So you can't come and tell us, oh, the president said that. No, he can say it. But once it's not on the book, it's not done. Let me tell you now.
You don't tell me now. Let me answer. I say you ask the question.
Let me learn. I took note of you talking. Oh, man. That's why
I thought you were trying to answer the question that you asked.
No. I took note when you were talking. And that's how we do it here. Take note when I'm saying, when I ask you, put this question down. So when you answer, when you read the answer, you refer to it and you do your answering. But I can't tell you, cut me off, hold on there. No, we're not in parliament. So the next thing you talk about, you say the president had not violated any law. No, my brother. The Constitution says every 10 years there should be a census. And we are going almost 10 years, 14 years, no census. That is a violation of the Constitution, Mr. Arthur, you don't know. Second, another one point you made here. Your accession. MCSS teachers yesterday were on strike under your government. MCSS teachers were on strike under your government and complaining about the same pay issue, the inequality of the government treating teachers in Liberia. The last one I want to make is this Prince Johnson business you talk about. There's a difference between elected officers, and there's a difference when elected officers are supporting a government or supporting an individual. Those are two different things. So get that. Prince Johnson was elected as senator of Nema County, but he's supporting George Weah. So you cannot divorce that to say because he is elected, so therefore he doesn't have the right or he cannot do anything like that. No, he's doing it. That's his right. And you accepted that. So you can't say because he was elected, therefore when he's doing it, we cannot discuss it. No, he's supporting your government. So therefore, those are the people who cause mayhem on us. And I continue to remind you, Mr. Arthur, that argument is not feasible. You cannot justify it because you said that Comey said there are people who are tainted. So therefore, you took the tainted people. That's a lazy argument. You cannot justify that for people who allegedly kill people because you're working with them in your camp, so you come to justify it. No. And that's why I told you that is a slippery hole. We should not go down that path because these people in government, almost 80% of them participated in government, directly or indirectly, that caused some destruction of Liberians. So let me just end it there. Maybe you can go on.
Can you respond to that, please?
Thank you, Mr. So. And you know what? I'm getting to like Mr. Edward George.
No, don't like me. Don't look.
No, you know the reason why I said that? You didn't say you cannot. You said it's a lazy argument, which means I gotta go above. You didn't sanction me like the liberal guy would do. Now let me start with the issue that we have. The female doctor among us said that she didn't say anything about the president breaching constitutionally. I said, okay, let me take that argument. Your first statement you made, you said that the president cannot grasp the constitutional of the country, and he just ordered about. Okay, if I'm not breaching the constitution, which means if I am doing what the Constitution is supposed to do. What exactly is it? I can't grasp about the Constitution. You were a good lawyer. You made a good argument, but it's not a political argument. In the public court, that's a different case than in your guided court. If the president is not doing, you're talking about the president stayed out of the country for that long, and he notified the people that need to be notified, and he stated the intention. And you talk about on his personal gain. I don't see a personal gain over there. Because in the area that he went, leaving from there, he got 175 plus million from there for the Liberian people. For the Liberian people. So now, I put that on the side. I'm done with the female judge. Let me talk to my senior brother, Dr. Toto. I love this guy too. We used to be friends. You saying that, whatever you saying, look, before I would argue with you, Mr. Toto, everything that I put out here, when I say show me the proof, the doctor sitting over there, she's a lawyer. You cannot come to me and say after you were a thief, then you have no evidence to support that. Then you want me, that's okay. Show me the proof. What have I stored in for you, Mr. Toto? They say, oh, the evidence there. Where? If that's the case, there will be no black person in America who go to jail. Because they will say, oh no, the man innocent, you let the man go. So that's a lazy argument as well. If you want to prove me wrong, bring evidence the way I'm stating things to you. The payroll harmonization passed, and it's a law of the country. Yeah, there might be trickle down effect down the road, but it's a law in the country. Now, let me talk to my senior, I say my father, Mr. Amon George. You say pro-government. What does that mean? Yes, I support the government in power, okay, which is the Constitution. Yeah. Yes, yeah. No, but it doesn't mean
that's why.
Yeah. I support the government in power. Even when Ellen was there, Mr. Toto, what I can show you, I'm a pro-government. Most of my people hate me. It doesn't mean I'm a unity party. No. Which means if the Constitution is there, let's respect the Constitution. Any changes that have to be done, take it to the ballot box. That's what a constitutional person will do. I don't have to be a registered member of a party to do that. I can say, yeah, I'm a pro. The lawyer over there can define a lot more better. Because if I'm a pro-government, which means I am protecting the government, is the constitution of the day. The president, whether it's Helen, she's a former constitution. George Weah is the current constitution right now. So yeah, I support the constitution. One,
So, pro-government support me, you support the constitution?
Pro-government?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When you say pro-government, again, what is the government?
Go ahead.
Thank you. You talk about the dual citizenship. It didn't written down that the people can vote. Define me what is a citizen in the country.
Let me take back into 1973.
No.
Mr. George, you're eating into this man's time. He's been speaking up for almost 4 minutes. Let him talk, and I'm watching the time. The fairness is going to happen.
You see, as a citizen, when they claim you in the United States here, if you're naturalized, you're a citizen. Your first right that you have, even taking your citizenship test, is the right to vote. Nobody can hinder that. The lawyer over there can tell you, except if you had a new test that is written 2 days ago that I don't know about. Judge over there, the man a doctor. He may know where he went for a citizenship test, everything he knows. So as a citizen, only when it comes to getting to offices, there's a restriction. Because I'm a naturalized citizen, I cannot be president of the United States. That's the law. But as a citizen, I have that constitutional right to vote. There's no way around it when you say it. Now let's go to you talking about censoring. The censor that you're talking about, you say, I don't know, it's censor going. Maybe you don't know, but censor ongoing. So I don't see any constitution that's being breached here. You're talking about payment. That, the dual citizenship. I didn't say that the dual citizenship is all around glorified, but it's the law that is being passed. We can do much better. Even if John we are in office today, whoever come in, whether it's a GONGLOE, it's a Alexander company, will follow that law for it to be unique. You can enforce it. You know?
Okay.
So that's a good thing. The last thing before I go, that's the last thing he made, then I'll let them talk. You talk about Prince Johnson. As a citizen, yet again, you not in a position to decriminalize, criminalize Prince Johnson when he's an elected official. He cannot say, because let me finish, please. Prince Johnson is elected by the people, by his people. So whoever Prince Johnson supports is not in your board to tell me that Prince Johnson is not supposed to support anybody or the president shouldn't allow him. The same way the president is elected, how Prince Johnson was elected by his people. So in collaboration, this is the problem you have in the opposition camp, because you can't collaborate that well. You see each other as lion and alpha dogs and all the stuff. You're fighting each other, so there's no collaboration. That's why you keep falling. And I mean, no disrespect to the liberal guy. If you're liberal so good so much, how can y'all lose all the time? I am a statement there. Show me proof. Show me evidence.
Mr. Addo, you missed people.
So, Pajoy, hold on. I think that Janet
he spoke for 6 minutes, 4 seconds.
I don't think you are keeping to. No. I think this is no. Listen, you're not timekeeper here. We have never had a clerk here. I think that is unacceptable.
I'm just wondering.
No. That's part of interruption to the program. It's unacceptable. Don't do that, please.
He's trying to.
We have a program. We keep time. We don't ring clerk here. That's part of the distraction in the conversation, and I don't think it's fair.
Well, but you have to give every one of us equal time. That's the point that I'm trying to make.
I'm not having no time bill here. You have talked. Everybody have talked. So when people talk, I think we should give people a chance. Let's do it that way. Janitor, go ahead, please. Janitor, is a mic muted? Or is he frozen?
I think he is.
Janitor. Oh, Jesus.
And I'm not sitting here on my cocktail, so there's no way. Okay,
yeah. Why would it be Janitor? Let me just come in.
No, I think Janitor has resurrected.
I'm here.
You are in coma. You're looking for the 20 case.
You know, Mr. So, let me just advise as we move ahead. We are in December. We may be getting in January very soon. And as the boiling point heats up, it will be appropriate on an advancement that those are all representing some background of institution be allotted time, probably a program time that can help to give the difference. But we shouldn't attempt doing it today, but in the future, we could consider it. Having said that, it is non-sequitur, meaning your premise and your conclusion, they are unparalleled. For you, Mr. Solo, to charge all of us that we are not providing facts, probably you only remember your constitutionalist name and you claim that the Toronto mentioned constitutionality. Probably you are remembering your own name. To say we presented no facts, but you come and say the GDP of the past cannot be compared to current, and you presented zero data, complete zero data. This platform and many other platforms are meant to educate people and inform our people, create consciousness. Let me come to present you the facts, send you a further the facts. Number one, Senator Johnson is a senator that supported President Weah on his own account, which is a public record. He said the agreement is signed up to, for which he supported President Weah and the CDC are not living up to it. Record number one. By that extension, it validated the Treasury Department that you have debased in this conversation. And the Treasury Department charged Senator Johnson on a legal count for pay to play. So Senator Johnson validated the agreement of play to pay with Weah, for which he thinks Weah should live up to that commitment. That is an issue that surrounds constitutionality. For you to say when somebody stops you from coming to the house, it means nothing. It's not different than because we are accommodate low intellect. So to our traditional partners, America, you compare them to ordinary person rejecting you to not come to their home, and you say it means that we are subservient, we don't want to go on our own, especially on the repetition of accountability. But I'm not surprised, because under Madam Sadi's leadership, the AU took a decision to stand with the issue of Israel capital, and that mandate was signed, agreed. It was on the book. It was part of the 10-year note to President Weah. And he stood in a church and said, we will call Ambassador Louis Brown because he did not vote in our interest. That demonstrated clearly that the president, who should be the chief architect of the foreign policy of the country, is just a complete what? Knows absolutely nothing. Meaning, even if you are not one, another person would have executed the mandate of the AU, which Labrador signed up to. And you come here and someone gave you constitutionality when the president wrote the legislature about the Paris Peace Conference and contradicted the extension of that as an excuse for which he needed to remain out of the country. It is a breach of the Constitution because the communication to the legislature is unfair. It does not represent the facts. The Paris Peace Forum never extended any day. They had it for 2 days, and the president lied on an oath. You come and sit here and want to defend President, we have to say everything they spoil, we will face it. And if there's that, sorry for the expression, somebody who is not following will think that a former senator who worked in your government will excuse himself of the responsibility of appropriating funding for the operation of government and hold the government accountable. For President, we have to stay near Madam Juawa Tera, whose husband has gone through persecution for wanton killing and giving young men arms, to come and stay near him and be clapping on account of that thing is completely the opposite. But let me lay here on the dual citizenship that you don't understand maybe better about. the members of the opposition collaborating political parties knows that there have been a bill passed for dual citizenship, but it has not been efficient and effective. So they are waiting the court through a petition that we are not dealing with the issue of dual citizenship, but our constitution provides that every citizen in any part of the world should have a constituent to be able to register. So on that basis, they are challenging the court that Liberians in the diaspora, like Guineans, will vote in at 8 years. Liberia doesn't have any good system, but Guinea can vote in Liberia. So we should tap upon those countries with good system so that we can have it as an opportunity for our Liberian people out of the country to utilize those systems, so that we have dual citizenship to be effective and efficient so that they can participate in the electoral process. That was the real essence of the dual citizen aspect of conversation. And all of what you are saying, it would have made more sense if the president, who is the president of all Liberians, not the Republic of CDC, had come to America and had a town hall meeting where Liberians were paid their way into out with the president. You will not have the burden to be making this verification. But because the president closet is filled with skeletons, he's not even brave to accommodate seditious who are in attire to ask him questions. Least to talk about opposition people. So this president, he looks like he's likened to a situation that the Christmas is coming. All the better go in Liberia and the chicken are in trouble. No matter how they tired of it, one of them might be prosecuted for the celebration. On the basis of track record, where they have stolen the RIA role, the revenue generating, one of the major revenue generating area, that you should jealously protect this president who knows nothing about protecting revenue envelope, had exposed that dual condition. Very soon there will be flight will start reducing. People will not be able to go there fly there in the night, and it becomes a hiccup. All we are saying, if the president does the right thing, it will put pressure on the opposition to win, meaning that he will be signing a blank check for himself. But if he doesn't, the Liberian people will give him one thing, and we are committed to it.
So, Doloke, quickly, let me just ask, with respect to the vice president, do you think crime is committed by her?
Thank you for that beautiful question. And this is the true nature of the hypocrisy we are talking about. To be honest with you, the vice president of the Republic of Liberia had committed no crime. What we are trying to unpack here is this. Louis Brown, Gayway McIntosh, Joshua Blahi, Yaka Kolibai, Sando Johnson, even including UA, they are the people who are stood for war and economic crime court to come so that they can face the accuser. On the contrary, on the record, President Weah, who are former peace ambassador, have rejected it. Madam Jua Hawatera has rejected it publicly. So on this note, from a personal section, it's clear that we can deal with the devil that they believe say kill human being, that advocating for transparency to come so he can face the accuser. We can agree with them, then we agree with Judge Wright, people who don't want it.
Does that answer my question?
The answer I said, Madam Jua Hawatera is not guilty because of husband, but because she rejected war and economic crime code that will bring about transparency and regain the lost resources. Unlike Louis Brown, I agree to it. It means that there are two different groups of people, and we will support Louis Brown and condemn Madam Jua Hawatera who resisted along with Judge Weah. It answered that question.
Okay.
Let me throw this in.
So I think Dr. Toto is full. Let the town clerk keeper come in here, because I think he's looking at his watch. He's boiling with ink, with in his endless answers as well. Joseph Boy, come in. We're not hearing you. Then I didn't touch your mic.
No, that not you. What this young man appearance on LPR tonight has demonstrated I think we all been longing and wanting for sedition to join us. And this is just a sympathizer to the government, and he apparently he has rattled our.
So I don't understand the data sedition.
No, Mr. So,
you know, so I don't get it.
Let me make my point, please. But anyhow, I am not going to respond to the young man anymore, because from my perspective, it seemed to me that he continued to be intellectually dishonest here tonight, and it's very difficult for me to actually engage. It's always been, even before the Facebook, when we used to have some engagement on Facebook just through writing, it's always difficult for me to follow those who comes into engaging process with the tactics of being intellectually dishonest. Let me just give you an example. He said the president, speaking about the president, he went and got $175 million for the Liberian people. Now, it's right here. I just wrote it. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Now, the point here is this. Those were engaged, the president, those were commitment. The president did not bring the money back. So for you to come here and make that pronouncement as such, then you are not honest. And so how am I going to engage you? Because the next time you're going to respond, you will repeat the same thing. And I will continue to, I don't have time for that. So I'm not going to respond to you tonight. We can move on to the different subject matter, because I don't think you deserve any response from me, because I truly want to engage, but not like that. One other thing I want to say here, listen to what he said. I mean, this is the kind of person that I refuse to engage in. After this, I'm done. I'll be quiet. I'll be on the show, but I'm not going to say anything. This is what he said, Mr. So, saying to you, let me finish. Let me make my point that I will let them talk. You will let people talk on Liberian Public Radio platform. You will let them talk. It's I don't know how to engage you, because if you're going to take that line to say, I will let him talk, not with a liberal, those kinds of things don't happen. So I refuse to engage you, because I truly believe that you are intellectually dishonest. And I'm not going to put myself in through that kinds of point. I don't have enough water or bottle here to be drinking all night, getting my pressure all up. I'm not going to go through that. So go ahead, enjoy yourself. I don't know where Mr. So got you from, but that's what we are. And we'll deal with it. It's a learning process. I'm also, this bringing you on is also helping me. Mr. So is also educating me, which I'm not too old to learn. And I'm learning from you, but I'm not going to engage you because you are intellectually dishonest. Thank you very much.
Okay. Dr. Taronka, I see you smiling. Somebody hit the bullet?
No, he hit the bullet. I do want to make a clarification on what our author said, not on a political issue. He made the statement, and for the purpose of educating those who are watching on the immigration process, about you do not need a judge. The custom and enforcement officers can deport you, have to deport you. You don't need a judge. That is a blanket statement that is not accurate. In most cases, the due process have to take place. Most people who are placed in removal proceeding must have a judge in order to be deported. Deportation is my expertise. Now, if you were deported before and came to the Custom and Border, they can turn you back and deport you from the border again. Or if you are caught and you're here in the United States, they have to put you in what they call removal proceedings, so that the due process, so your due process can take place, and then that works itself out before you are deported. So I wanted to clarify that. I didn't clarify that earlier, but I wanted to do that before we move forward. There is a difference, and it behooves you to have been able to present the difference instead of just saying you don't need a judge. In most cases, you do need a judge in the deportation process to get deported back. Now, with that said, I think we're running the mill. It's quite clear when I'm using the word he doesn't grasp. Not being able to grasp something does not mean you are necessarily in violation of it. Now, Amos just laid out a perfect case as to how this president is clearly does not understand our Constitution. And I will leave it just as that. I'm not going to reiterate it. But again, those two things I wanted to, the word grasping means I may know something. I just don't grasp the concept of it. However, I may not be, I'm not necessarily saying that he is in violation of it, because I couldn't off the top of my head present any arguments. So I'd say I didn't say that. So I wanted to make it clear that if I don't have a working fundamental knowledge of something, then I began to put my interest over that thing. He does put his interest. He said he was going to establish an economic court to look into corruption. That didn't happen. There are things that he said, and it doesn't mean I'm not necessarily, because George Weah does not know the Constitution. From what I grasp from personality, I'm talking about his personality, his interest that he puts above the country when it's time to put country above the interest. That is not someone with a constitutional character to run a country. And I don't want to kind of go on and on about it, but I just really wanted to make that point about what the immigration court does. You were quite wrong in your vague statement.
Okay.
Why are you putting your hand up?
I think
there's nothing to argue about.
What you, yeah, go ahead, Dr. Toto.
Yeah, let me just make some point also too. When Arthur when he was speaking, first of all, he tried to draw a correlation between the American citizenship and the Liberian citizenship when it comes to naturalization. He want to compare that with what happened in Liberia with the issue of the dual citizenship. That's a two complete different era. In America, when you naturalize, go through naturalization, you are eligible to vote. It becomes part of your constitutional right. But in Liberia, we went through dual citizenship. Dual citizenship has been accepted by the government. The president passing the law. The next step now is for the court to ratify that, for the foreign ministry to come up with a gazette to list the issue of dual citizenship to be fully acceptable for them to work on the modality in terms of people voting. And that's where Janetta was trying to allude to. A lot of other countries voting, where people have like electability to be able to vote, and the government trying to play politics out of that. So by you there granting dual citizenship, it does not automatically give you the right to just go and start voting. You have to go through a process. First of all, how for you to get the dual citizenship application, all those other things. Those are part of the time that were discussed when we were advocating for the issue of dual citizenship. And then also too, you talk about, without making a point about the economic condition about Liberia, when you talk about the GDP. No, Arthur, be fair to yourself. We don't have to come here to say we're ready to get a chalkboard to be ready with the polls of it. But you know very well when it comes to the current GDP, the country is so bad. When you talk about foreign direct investment in Liberia right now, look at how the country is looking. How many investors are in that country that attracting foreign investment in the country? The economy is so bad. Look at inflation. Inflation, we know the world going through some economic downturn right now, the whole world. And the best argument they can put there, okay, everybody want the world solve it. They want to compare maybe gasoline like in America type of $4, then why Liberia can be high also too. You see, that's the type of weak argument they want to make. But the economy, you all know the economy in Liberia is very bad. And talk about the harmonization of salary. Look at what happened. Look at what happened the harmonization did. People that have been working for 25, 30 years, you retire them just for $25. They gave me get out $25 after working all that many years as a civil servant. They go to retirement. They cannot get a retirement package. They took out harmonization salary. After try to be more focused. Look, I continue to tell you, my little brother, when you can't understand software, get away from the CDC boards there. You want to listen. How can I tell you?
Oh my goodness.
Let me, Mr. Sewell, if I could just add a point. I want to know from Mr. Arthur, the 175 million you're talking about, and maybe I got it wrong, so you can correct me. I heard Eugene Nangwe at the time he was at the UN. You say the United States government gave $165 million to those, I think 5 or 6 countries that will be conducting election. And you said that was going to be proportional. Is that different from the $175 million that the promised George we are? And let me tell you, let me say this. Pro-government, you support that particular government, all the programs that they put forward. So that's why pro-government means. So if you say you support the CDC-led government, you pro-CDC, you support the agenda. Okay? And the issue about the dual citizenship, let me go back on it. Go back and read it. Where in that document it talk about voting for citizens, that people in the diaspora will have the right to vote. It was never mentioned there. I said it again, it was never mentioned there. What I want people to do, or you to do, 1973, it was on Ottawa that put in that law that women, even children who were born of women in Liberia, the mother of Liberia, were not allowed to vote. I mean, were not citizens, not vote, but were not citizens. The 1973 Constitution amendment that Ottawa did, that when I clock in now, if your mother is a Liberian, you're born, you are not a Liberian. So these are genesis of that law. But until then, until to go to court, the law says you must be white to go to court. If you are not white, you cannot go to court. So what I'm trying to tell you, except somebody raise the issue, go to the Supreme Court and say, hey, based on this, I have been denied, my rights have been violated. Then the Supreme Court will take up that issue. So even if the president said the people have the right to vote, it is not yet on paper. It's not a law. Get that clear.
Okay. We are right on top of the dog. And so we're going to spin in the room. I think probably now, I think the clock now got to be kicking. Hopefully the endless answers and the explanation too, they're going to be taken into consideration how to time them, because we want to all get all at once. But it's 10:01. Usually we're here 2 hours. So we're not going to keep people here more than that. What happened to Dr. Toto? Uh-oh.
That's into raising her cartel.
That cartel is on life support. It can't do anything. Okay, so I know we are already out of time, but hopefully by God's willing, we're going to be back here on Friday. We are getting other information, but since we can't, no, it's pointless to bring it out when it will not be discussed. So let's spin the room. Is Dr. Toto down here? Let me see. Okay, let me see. Let's spin the room. We are already out of time. Hopefully by God's willing, we're going to be back here on Friday. Somebody monitor it on. Dr. Toto can meet you. Okay. All right, let's spin the room in our 1 minute comment. Hopefully we'll keep within that frame, that time frame, for us to wrap up, and then we can cut it. But what I want to say though, let's let the guys, you guys go ahead. After you want to go first in your 1 minute, your closing statement. We're not hearing your microphone is muted.
It's muted.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I think I should be afforded more than 1 minute, but I'm just begging for it. Say I'm 1 against 5. You know, it's suitable. I mean, I know the liberal guy not responding to me, but he's still responding to me. I mean, that's a good thing. But let me begin with my 1 minute. Now, people, I will start from the bottom to go up. We are here. We are discussing issue. I never stated that here on this platform that everything the government doing is good and no need to change it. I said that if you find something, I said it to even our female doctor here. Sorry if I said that. I mean, Dr. Kimmer here. That if something that he's doing or the government is doing that is wrong, bring up the problem. Then it will fix it. That's what I said. Pro-government, right? Good. The Supreme Court in Liberia, even before the dual citizenship come out, already put out a statement clarifying the issue. So going back to the Supreme Court saying, oh, my dual citizenship got denied, it's not going to, that's why you need, like Mr. George said, you need to go to the body boss, and when they say, no, you can't vote, then you can go sue. That's one. Two, you're talking about agreement between Prince Johnson. These are their backroom deal. It had nothing to do with the Constitution of the day. Prince Johnson is a private citizen. He can sway his vote any way he wants to. It had no effect on anybody. That's the thing. You're talking about Louis Brown being recalled. Louis Brown is recalled because he lacked diplomacy. The statement is there. In order to affect change of the country, you have to know how to, act with your counterpart. You don't just go up there acting like a gangster. That's another thing. But the dual citizen, everybody back quoting, there's no clause or section.
Where we can find our statement?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Where can we find a statement of Louis Brown dismissal? Facts.
Okay. Yeah, hold on. Let me finish with my 1 minute because you're taking away my 1 minute. I have to ask for time to be restored. Mr. Janitor, for you only overcapted people a statement. You don't state the fact because everything you said about what you think I said was not what I said. Even when Mr. Soul rewind the tape, it will be different from what I said. But I don't want to hold everybody here. You did it before. You and I done on the platform. You did it before. But dual citizenship, you're talking about, there's no section, clause, or any part of the dual citizenship say, a diaspora person cannot vote. It never said that. The problem everybody has here, you're trying to create a law that don't exist. You're trying to create a problem that's not there.
Thank you so much.
Hurt, then you can change it.
Thank you so much. For me, I'm a free thinker, very open. I listened and then I make good decision to persuade people. But thank you so much. Let me bring Dr. Toto. What's your final statement?
Yeah, let me say this a very good discussion, but we let I would say I don't want to make an argument that I learned a lot, but the other question my dear brother Arthur, when he appearing to be the public face of this government that carries so many baggage, let you be a little bit moderate and be prepared to accept some of the fact if I only want to be a pro-government like he did in the early government regime, as he said. The government carries so many baggage and there's no way you can defend the government in some of the things that you said tonight on the show. Yeah. Our advice, don't even try to go that route. When it comes to the caliber of Prince Johnson or Louis Brown and other individuals, leave that one will be the opposition. The LP people they would deal with it, but CDC or pro-government, you have to welcome back to make that judgment on it. Don't get involved in that argument. Just leave it or we'll deal with it. But what I want to close with, this is a learning process for everybody, for some of us, and also we take to learn from one another. We are not here to demean people or people's view. And whatsoever, if you make any kind of statement in the public domain, or the public the show here, they will make a better judgment about who see the fact and who not see the fact and that. Let be more tolerant and more respectful of each other's view on the show here. That's what I'll close with.
All right, Dr. Toto, thank you so much. Jonathan Dolake.
Thank you for the opportunity again. And it was quite good having this conversation. Let me say that I asked in the private chat based on Arthur's section whether there were any one thing that he knew that CBC can be held accountable to. He refused to answer because he said he supports government. He asked us how we should present facts, and which is very important. I stated that Prince Johnson is for the MDR. Everything that MDR does is constitutionally recorded. That's why they say any law should not go contrary to the Constitution of Liberia. It will be not a law. It will not be law. So it should be within the ambit of our law. So if he and the CDC people go into an agreement, and that agreement is questioned by our colleagues, French Treasury Department, something that worry, especially so when Prince Johnson confessed with his mouth. Now that makes the way. The next thing again, there's another fact. The Paris Peace Forum, the president lied on an oath that they postponed the Paris Forum, and informed the legislature that it's constitutional breach to lie on an oath. And it was proven by Ambula Mohammed. Another constitutional issue, Mr. So, quickly to learn. The sacking of GLXM Williams for Legis, who the president has absolutely zero authority to appoint or dismiss. It was a constitutional breach. It was a gamble and crucifixion of the Constitution. So, Mr. Constitutionalist, it's not just to bear the knee, constitutionalist. It's to understand the intricacy of the things, the characteristics that hang around constitutionality. Lastly, I never said that Liberians were not given dual citizenship. What I stated is that Liberians in diaspora have never voted ever before. So there's a petition on the floor of the court that Liberians who are residing in other countries should have constituents there that will accommodate them to vote. And I set the example that Liberia does not have any system, but Guineans vote at 8 years. So why don't we explore countries that got system in America, in Canada, and other areas, so that Liberians there can also vote in those areas? That has been my message. And finally, President Weah would have done better if I allow Liberians who will not always be seen in America to question him and ask a question and make suggestion. That's how you tap on the diaspora community. But because he is afraid, he could not even withstand questions because he doesn't even trust the civilian. They might ask critical questions. He stopped question, knowing that we might not see in the next 2 years up to the next General Assembly. This is the way he governs us. And it is just appalling. And that's why we got rather feel how we're there and we cannot have any good thing coming out of it. Thank you, Mr. So.
Okay. I think we're going to have our queen to cry in maybe with some with her expertise here. So please be reserved for us here. I don't want you to go. Amos George.
Yeah. Let me say thank you to all of you again. And I want to close on this note. People take up the time to listen to us. So if we're making comment or statement, our reference point, we should be able to direct people with what we're talking about and what are the facts that we have to support that. I've sat down here, listened to Mr. Arthur. I have learned a whole lot from him. I must commend him. But I just want to say this. When we come here, we say some of us say something. We're not saying it because we hate person. We are saying it based on facts. Mm-hmm. Constitution violation, he have done it. If the Constitution said today should be election, and the president does not hold that election and does not ask the legislature to amend or come up with a resolution, that's a violation. So the issue of lists, the censor, the laws, the Constitution said every 10 years it should be conducted. And we are going in almost 4 years. We have not had that constitution mandate fulfilled. So by that time, one day after that time, after that 10 years, that is the violation of the Constitution. Okay? That is the violation of that Constitution. You can do it later, but you violated the law at that time. Second, permanent positions. The guy who was American in London, Ansel Jackson, was removed by the president. They say only you should be removed if your action have become compatible. That is your duty, or you are done something contrary to the law, and the president did not give no reason. That was no violation. The National Lottery, it removed the lady that was there. That was violation. They went to court. The court was said no. You cannot do that. She has to end her term. That is the violation of the Constitution, Mr. Arthur. So maybe we need to do more research to know what is the violation of the Constitution that a president or any citizen can do. We have to have this thing to inform our people. The dual citizenship, you may remember to someone, the young man that took the government to court, it was an individual And the Supreme Court ruled that once you are a Liberian, you are a Liberian. But it doesn't mean that you can vote. The law has to be on the book to tell you, yeah, United States, they say every citizen that is born in the United States, it is the right to vote. And if you are naturalized, the Constitution grants you that right. So no person can come and say you cannot vote.
All
it's
right,
on
Mr. George,
paper.
thank you so much. The Liberal Progressive.
Thank you, Mr. So. Any other night, I would come out to say no comment. Let's move on. Let's close it. But I think I need to do this here. To all of us here, I think we need to understand, and I think we do have the English language at our command. The words we use to describe other people must be decent. Words such as, especially when we're talking about the president, words such as lied. I think those things, those words, we should try to moderate that a little bit. At least we can say for the president, you know, missing the truth, not quite on mark, you know, words like that. But to say lie, I just as a liberal, I'm a little bit bristle when that word is used with respect to the president of the Republic of Liberia, who is my president, not necessarily the individual, but that office of that country is very important to all of us. And then to the young man that just joined us here tonight, I thought the word dogs and those kinds of description of other Liberians, I think we need to try to stay away from those, because we try to, and we have done our best. We come out here for 2 hours whatsoever. We have discussion, but we don't get into those kinds of description, describing each other, or neither do we do that to describe other Liberians. I think we have words that you can use to still mean the same thing, but perhaps must be a little bit suitable or tasteful. Let's put it that way. And Mr. So, that's about all that I can say tonight. I hope when we meet here on Friday that our discussion, while we don't go around here as lawyer with a briefcase full of facts and what have you, but at least we should be able to point out some things that people will be able to, audience will be able to put their fingers on them immediately if possible. So let's do the best. We will continue to improve ourselves. All of us were in the process of learning. So I am not old to learn. I'm still learning myself. But that's all that I have to say. The most important thing I want to take out of this show tonight is that let us try to be moderate in our pronouncement, specifically describing each other.
Really?
Thank you. Mr. So, the liberal, you know me, I stay away from those kinds of words. I don't.
The hypocrisy is at the highest level.
Mr. So, you can call it whatever you want to call it. When I disagree with people, I don't use language to describe them that I will not like for somebody to do just describe me.
Right.
If you and I have been on this thing here for almost 14 years. When was the last time that I didn't talk about people when they use the word lie, that I say I bristle against that? I've always been that way. Thank you very much.
Okay. Dr. Taranka?
Yes. It's been an interesting night. I am grateful that I am sitting in amidst these brains and I'm educated. I am a younger generation. I left Liberia since I was 12. So it is critically refreshing for me to learn history, especially from the General Amos himself. But to close this, I think all of the candidates that are in this election are gunning for the highest seat. And it's critically important for all of us to understand that Liberians are exhausted. They're exhausted financially. They are exhausted with all of the rhetoric. They are exhausted. And that is not something that we're just saying. They are experiencing hardship to the highest degree because this government has failed them. The promises that they've made has not, all of which have not been met. And I think we can conclude that we definitely are looking for a change. And however we get to that change, and I think the consensus between all of the opposition is we want this president to have one term. And in order to do that, I think the candidates have to really focus on the needs of the people and have to focus on the people. This is not a personal thing, and I'm not suggesting that any one of them are taking it personally. Magdalena Cooper, as I've stated from day one, is definitely one that has served the people. She knows and understands the Constitution of Liberia and how to put the people, have to give the power back to the people. I think when we begin to focus on that, to allow the people to understand that they have the power to be able to move the country, we'll be okay. Now, go to the polls. This is the only way you are going to make a change. Go to the polls and make your noise at the poll. I mean, at the end of the day, let the people speak. So that's all I have to say. Again, it's always a pleasure with everyone.
Look, I want to thank you guys so much. Liberia Public Radio, more than the star of national public radio, where voices are not sanctioned, where we do not select certain voices because you purpose to hear specific thing. And I see some sort of high level of little bit of hypocrisy in this whole thing. And I see why the country is going the way it's going, because a greater segment of our country is being left out of the political disco because we feel uncomfortable to sit with these people, to have a conversation with them, forgetting to know that these people, they are in a very huge majority and their vote matters. So people who are surrogate of the opposition and they think they would not want to be persuasive, they don't have that little political temperament to listen to other people and say, oh, this guy, I can get this guy on my side and he can be a witness. And people just look at the surface of one thing. People make a statement and they don't allow people to end their statement to see where their conclusion will be based and convict them. It's wrong. And I said this here. We are not here to entertain. We are here to discuss issues. We might not agree with those issues somebody will be talking about, but that will give you a sense of what is unfolding in our country. So if we do not have that temperament and we want to shut things down in people's throat, it makes us to not to know what is happening in real Liberia. And so they have a lot of sycophants electorates, people who view because they want people to come to tell them what plays into their narrative. That's not what I do. And that's not what I will do. If you think I want to say in your way, talking about the money, I text a government official today. I've been hearing this million, that million, because specific ministry will also mention that 7 million or whatever number of million was sent. The Ministry of Youth as well going to be a beneficiary. 11:30 this morning, I sent a message to Minister Zoka Wilson. I do not convict people. I like to have, that's why I don't go on Facebook and just grab because a minister or an honorable, anybody can be anybody on Facebook, uses fictitious names and stuff like that. But when it comes to having a dialogue about our country, I think we have to pull out that sort of garment where in fact, the voice, views, opinions, they must sound ridiculous, they must sound over the roof, but we must understand we are dealing with a diverse society. And so people who are throwing unnecessary tantrum because people not saying something that they want to hear, this is why it's a failed system. The government, the opposition, this is why there's a failed system, because the sanctioned voices, they don't allow people to explain their guts, because when people empty their guts to you, it gives you a sense of direction, who that person is and how you're going to communicate with that person. Who will tell me about Prince Johnson, any other person here, any other the people here, they can tell me, I was at the port, I was taken to the Cllr base. I was one of those 6 persons that Prince Johnson took. The late ECOMOT Commander Konage, may his soul rest in peace, a Gambian contingent led that group to free over 300 people in buses when we were grouped in different categories, different ages. Should I come here if as an anchor now, as a host, to use my personal stuff and say I'm going to convey? But it is clear he is already a criminal based on what we know. And that's what I was asking my brother question. But the history of Liberia is deep, and most people just know the surface without knowing the in-depth of this. And so it is dangerous for people who start halfway or not knowing something and profess to know it. It is dangerous for the country. And we are trying here on LPR to break that gap, to bring people here of different groups, different background, different thinking, different world in their own world. That will help us to find the solutions of our country. And this is why I have you great people here. But have liberal like this who is in multiple places. A liar is a liar. When a man lie, he lie. But then he wants people to coin certain thing in his direction because he wants it to go. But then when he ready, he go ballistic. Liberal, please don't do this to us. Don't do this to us. You left Charles Bronski, you went with Billy T, you went with what's his name? Nyombi Kanga, they left you, you were Boyka. I don't know whether you're going to GONGLOE now or maybe Madame Kopo. He doesn't want to talk. But guys, thank you so much. We're going to be back here on Friday. I think it's a learning process. But we have to all help to educate the viewers, the listeners. They don't get it. They don't understand it. It's just a little greater portion that they understand and they think that's a drumbeat. That's not how it works.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Dr. Taranka, I will call you and we're going to have a conversation based on that because I think we, a lot of people have been calling me, where the Black American, what's she doing? But, so people just don't know. It's so sad.
Now, just give her 1 minute. Let her tell us what's with that anyway. I'm also have an interest to see what I can ask her for her long form birth certificate.
Yeah, the liberal say you want your birth certificate.
long form. I don't want short form birth certificate. I want a long form birth certificate.
Okay, we can get it another time. File that petition with the immigration. Okay, so
no, she's muted. She's saying something.
You wanted to say something, Dr. Taranka?
Still muted. Still muted.
It's still
okay.
Maybe we'll do it Friday. We can't get you. We can't shove everything down your throat here this evening. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for a great time.
Thank you.
Jonathan, thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, bye-bye. Okay. So it is what it is. It is sad for people to convey people. We want free society. And I say something that is not to your taste. So you become more or less subjective instead of being objective. That's why the whole country is going downhill. What are George Weah, now George Weah today saying what is happening, the conversation, the discourse is going to be the same because people lack the political tolerance to accommodate extreme views, which might not be good for the country. But how do you help? You're not going to execute those people. You're not going to take, you're not going to rip off their citizenship of the country. They're going to be part of the society. Will you alienate them? Absolutely not, because you're going to exacerbate even the problem more than what we are having. So it is time to have this conversation. In as much it will be ridiculous, it's not going to be it's not an event, and it's not going to be an overnight stuff. You're going to have this deep conversation. If we want all sides to be heard, I think it is fair to bring that on. If we want seditions, we want liberty partisans, we want all groups, all sectors from different demographic. I think it's important that we hear. Let us know their inner part, how they see Liberia, where they think Liberia is going, and put some of the rhetorical questions to them, the open-ended questions that they will explain. Don't give them ended questions where do we answer yes. Let them know their inner part. I want to thank you so much. God's willing, I'm going to be back here Friday. Get to know us well, get to know what we are doing, and you will be a little bit at some point in time. You'll be okay. Wouldn't worry about what people views their opinion. If we criticize other people, why people can run a judgment against us? So it's nothing. Thank you so much. Have a pleasant night.